The Ninja 7 Levels of High Challenge. Throughout this video, there's gonna be a level counter in the corner. As it increases, I want you, the viewer, to enter said level. This is gonna be ballistic, people. Let's go. I haven't gotten high in school very often, and anyone who has gotten high in school would know why. It always sounds like a good idea at first, but in practice, it can be so goddamn scary. Now, this story isn't just about me getting high, but instead the whole squad was smoking in class. And under those circumstances in mind, you know shit had to have gone down, and it did. So it was the first day back to school from summer break, and it was the morning of that day before the classes had started. As the nature of the first day of school goes, I was pissed off, and so was my boy Roderick, the same guy from the mushroom story. We were pissed we had to be back in this place, but it also was sick to see everyone I didn't see over the summer. So we were greeting everyone in the grade, catching up in the hallways, when none other than the man himself, Kevin, comes through the doors, beelines straight to the two of us and whispers in our ears, "Bro, meet me in the handicapped stall real quick. I got something to tell you." Which, may I add, is an insane way to greet someone on the first day back from summer break, but we followed him into the bathroom to see what was up. As we walked in, Kevin is standing on the toilet like he is about to give a speech to us and says, "Guys, none of the three of us want to be here. Wouldn't you guys agree?" And we nodded our heads in agreement. "Then why don't we go somewhere else?" And this guy pulls out not just one, but 3 different wax pens, and our mouths are agape. Keep in mind, I rarely smoked at this time, so to see not just one, but 3 wax pens that this dude had brought into the school was the craziest thing I had ever witnessed. I was like, no way we're smoking right here and right now. And Kevin said, "Not yet. See, I've been dreading the first day of school for a long time now, so I've thought up a way to make it a little more interesting. I want to play a game. We each carry a pen on us for the entirety of the day. Every time somebody says some dumb shit, you have to take a hit. And if you don't get caught all day, you get to keep the pen. But if you get caught, you owe me $50. In one moment, I was going about my ordinary day in school, and in the next, I'm choosing which pill I'm gonna take, and you know I took the green pill, and so did Roderick. I won't lie, the speech had us getting hyped in this bathroom stall. If anyone was in the bathroom at the time, I feel like they probably would have gotten the wrong idea. But anyways, we had to plan our day. We all brought out our schedules to see which classes we shared. I shared Spanish with Roderick, math I was with both, English I was alone for, and study hall I had the 2 of them again. But the bell rang and me and Roderick headed over to Spanish and departed from Kevin. As we walked into the classroom, we agreed we wouldn't sit next to each other, so if one person came down, the other wouldn't come down with them. And it would be easier to stay undercover, so we both sat in the back corners of the class. The class started and the teachers were going over the syllabus when this kid raised his hand and asked, "When we get our assignments, do you want our names in English or Spanish?" Me and Roderick just stared at each other from across the class after that. We knew what we had to do. As soon as the teacher turned around to the whiteboard, we took a hit, but then she turned around and we just had to hold in the smoke until she turned around again. And once I did, I started coughing loud. I couldn't hold it in that long. So I crossed my arms and put my head down, and no one thought anything of it, but it was close. The class went on and we got out of that one safe, although those wax pens, if you've ever smoked them before, hit hard. So even though I only took 1 hit, I was already feeling it as we walked to math. We got to the class first, and as Kevin walked in, he looked so fucked up. I was like, "Bro, what happened to you?" And all he replied with was, "It was Liam, bro." And then just took a seat before I could respond. Lord have mercy on his soul. Let me tell you, math was a dreadful class to get through. Not because of the challenge. We didn't even have to smoke once during this period. It was just the munchies, bro. Lunch was the next period, and I was fiending for that school lunch. The most entertaining thing that happened to that class was that I sat across from Kevin, staring him straight on, and he just kept nodding out of existence and coming back. This guy was on another planet, and it was only 10 in the morning. Once lunch came, I spent like $20 on snacks, but they were all out of the vending machine, which was a process I did not have the patience for. Waiting for the food to come down just felt like an eternity. The squad linked up, and I tried to get more information on what happened to Kevin during first period. Can you elaborate on what happened to you earlier, bro? Liam, bro, he had to introduce himself, and he said he likes kids. He didn't realize how bad that sounded, bro. But he really said it. And to be honest, me and Roderick, we just decided to take a hit right there after hearing that out of respect for what he had gone through. Once the bell rang, I started stressing because my next class was alone. I lost my supports and I had to face English class like a real stoic man. I sat down. I don't remember exactly what the question was, but I do know that some kid said something that I had to smoke to. So I had to take a hit. Then the guy next to me leans over and looks into my eyes and just nods. I was sitting next to the school stoner Bradley. Bradley saw this and asked, "Yo, can I get one, bro?" So respectfully, I handed him the pen and with no remorse for his own life proceeded to blow it straight into the air, and of course the teacher noticed and walked over. I thought it was all over for me in this moment, but he just ended up sending Bradley to the office. But the thing is that he still had my pen on him when he left. This guy, 200 IQ, outplayed me and purposefully got sent to the office so he could take the pen for himself. I don't know if that was actually his plan, but that's just what it seemed like to me. Once English ended, I walked into study hall, and this part was the hardest part of the challenge to overcome. If you've had study hall before, you know how silent the class is. So I'm trying to tell these two how I got my pen stolen, but I'm so high I cannot control how loud I'm being, and I just can't communicate what happens. I guess they both deemed that to be smokable, so they both took a hit, and as they exhaled, I couldn't help but just laugh at myself, and I laughed loudly, which alerted the teacher and got Roderick and Kevin caught. But since I got my pen stolen, I got away from it. I didn't have anything on me. They got sent to the front office, and I had to wait out the next hour of this class in an excruciating silence, just paranoid that somebody was gonna come after me. But at the end of the day, nothing happened of it, so I technically won the challenge and got to keep the pen. But since it got stolen, I really just got nothing. But I'm glad I won though, because if I had lost, I would have had to fork over $50 and a new pen. So I dodged a bullet there. So while I didn't get anything, at least I didn't lose. I recently bought an Airbnb to stay in for 50 hours and get deviously high for the entire time period. Every 5 hours that passed, my beautiful friend Cameron would spin a giant wheel with various different challenges I would have to complete. By default, every 5 hours, I would also eat a 25 milligram edible, progressively getting higher and higher as the challenge went on. But if I failed the challenge, Cameron would force me to eat an additional 2 gummies, which, you know, would probably end up with me passed out if I failed too many. For the first 5-hour block, Cameron spun that massive wheel and got make a PowerPoint. So I eat my gummy and start thinking about what I'm going to make this PowerPoint about. I'm looking around this Airbnb room for inspiration, but there's not much to work with. But then I feast my eyes upon something great. It was one of those corny Christian house decor items, and I thought, yeah, I can work with this. I got to work tirelessly on this PowerPoint. Although those gummies started to hit halfway through, so it took me a bit longer than I anticipated, that was nothing the Lord's strength couldn't handle. After hours of endless work, I had a finished product to present to Cameron. Alright, Cameron, so this is why Jesus Christ should definitely smoke weed by Ninye. Let's be honest here, he's still a person at the end of the day, just like me and you. And I bet being the Holy Lord comes with a lot of stress and anxiety. I bet smoking weed would really help him out with that. Let's do a little activity. Let's count count on our hands how many of our friends believe in the Lord's faith. Yeah, that's right, not a single one. The youth are quickly losing faith, but smoking weed will make Jesus way cooler and way more relatable to younger people. Here's just a quick before and after. Jesus before he smokes weed and Jesus after he smokes weed. As you can tell, there's a big upgrade here. Without weed, he is mid. Faith will be peak again. Thank you for listening. Cameron thought my presentation was very cool and impressive. So afterwards, I didn't have to eat any extra gummies and I was free until hour 10. Something I didn't foresee is that these activities would not take nearly as long as the 5-hour time slots between them allowed for. So I had a lot of free time. All that free time meant lots of hours on TikTok while high, which perfectly transitioned into the hour 10 challenge. I ate a gummy and Cameron spun the very giant and real wheel, and I got watch TikTok and make a top 5 list of the best ones you find. I had already been grinding TikTok for a few hours, so I knew I could make the most fire top 5 TikToks. I scrolled for a few more hours because I wanted a varied sample group of videos. After my many hours of hard labor were over, I meticulously handcrafted the perfect videos from my likes. First, I started off with a beautiful penthouse view of Cameron's favorite city in Chongqing, China, followed by this Roblox depiction of a child abduction, which I felt Cameron could relate to very well. I did a bit of a 1-2 combo here because the next video of Hezbollah is also something I imagine Cameron can relate to pretty closely. The next one was a pretty cool rock formation in Ireland, but it didn't actually matter at all because it was all set up for the grand finale TikTok of this epically laughing dog. Not gonna lie, I think that last one was the slam dunk that sealed the deal here because I had Cameron dead and I passed with flying colors. Hour 15 came, Cameron spun the wheel, and this time I had to make and drink a smoothie with all the delicious ingredients Cameron had so graciously bought me and put into the refrigerator. I had hella munchies at this point, so I was looking forward to this easy little break challenge I had gotten myself into. I opened the refrigerator and the only 2 things he had bought was cauliflower and a bottle of water. Bro, what is this? Why are these the only things? Oh, you know, it's just a little something, you know? I'm not gonna shred cauliflower and drink it with water, bro. Cameron was thinking 3 steps ahead of me because he knew I wouldn't eat this dung. He was doing a bit of what we call in the industry throwing for content. He felt I wasn't getting high enough, and if I were to fail this challenge and eat extra gummies, it would make things a little more interesting. I won't lie, it ended up working. During hour 15, I ate a total of 3 gummies because this little pitfall he had set for me. By the time hour 20 came, I was sloshed. This was the 1 hour that we didn't spin the wheel. The idea was that I had to build a pillow fort, which would really just be me making a bed to sleep in since I was 20 hours into this challenge and I had to sleep. But before I did that, I had already passed out. So when I was awoken all groggy at hour 25, Cameron had the 4 gummies I had to eat at the ready. This was the point where it was all just pain. I had to eat 100 milligrams of edibles after waking up from my shite sleep that only lasted 5 hours. Already we had to spin the wheel again, and it was a game of hide and seek where I had to hide from Cameron for a successful 30 minutes. I won't lie though, I just went into the closet with as many blankets as I could find, covered myself, and passed out. I ended up sleeping the whole time again, and to be honest, I woke up sloshed again and royally fricked from the residual hour 25 gummy load. As I awoke, Cameron came to me with an extremely devious smile and said, "Hey man, you gotta go to the kitchen. I got you something special for hour 30. Come on, big guy." So I got up feeling like I had just gotten hit by a car and waddled into the kitchen to see a big GoPuff bag. The wheel landed on a free spot, dude, so I got a gift for you. Oh my god. After 30 long hours of suffering, I finally have something good happening to me. I'm so hungry. I don't even care what you picked me, dude. I'll eat anything. Thank you so much. I grabbed the bag in excitement, and as I opened it, the only thing it was a super suction blue 12-inch dildo. Wow, thanks, bro. Thanks for buying me this. I actually ended up finding a lot of utility out of Cameron's epic item he got me, because the suction on the bottom made for an awesome trick shot item. So I threw this thing around the house, bottle flipping it on just about every surface I could find, until I accidentally stuck it to to the ceiling and it was too high for me to retrieve. The suction on this thing was supreme. It was really stuck up there. Hour 25 was actually my favorite moment. I was tasked with making a song. I didn't have any kind of experience with music production, but Cameron did. He gave me his laptop with FL Studio to make an epic song, but he didn't actually help me at all. This song ended up taking me hours of tireless work since I had no idea how to use the application, but I seriously think I found my calling here. Once I figured out the basics, I was like Kanye West in the studio. The music was flowing through my fingertips and I made one of the most fire songs I had ever heard. But enough talking about it, I'll just play the song for you guys. For some reason, Cameron didn't like this song though, because his head is too far up his ass. So I ended up eating an extra 2 gummies and it was off to hour 40. The wheel spun and what was required was a battle of willpower, discipline, and heart. I had to step outside in merely my undies while it was blisteringly cold and blizzarding and survive standing in the snow like a Joe Rogan ice bath for 5 minutes. If I were to fail this challenge, I'd have to eat a gummy for every remaining minute on the clock. So the stakes here were higher than ever. I took a moment to collect myself as I knew this would take an incredible amount of focus. So I did that thing you do where you sit at your bedside in the morning and take in the fact that you have to live another day on this earth. Except instead of a bed, it was on a couch side and I was preparing for war. As I initially went outside, the cold hit me hard. Instantly, I wanted to turn back. But I saw the sinister look Cameron had in his eyes. I saw how badly he wanted to feed me all those gummies, and I was determined to prove him wrong. Against all odds, I step into the snow and shock instantly spreads throughout my entire body. I'm shivering, my teeth are chattering, but more than anything, I was persevering. With every passing second, the cold became slowly more bearable and I became slowly stronger. In the midst of this intense and cold winter, I found that there was within me an invincible summer. No matter how hard the world pushed me, there was something stronger, something better, pushing me right back. After the 5 minutes were up, I walked back into the warm indoors and felt an indescribable warmth return to my body. Unfortunately, this hour's triumph was also my last. After withstanding 40 hours high, 275 total milligrams of edibles in 5 minutes in the snow, it was just too much stress for my body. I passed out for good right at the home stretch and didn't get back up to finish all 50 hours. While I lost the challenge, the lifelong lessons I learned throughout the excruciating pain I endured these 2 days made up for it. Maybe another day I'll have to try this again and succeed, but anyways, that's the video. Subscribe, bye! I also have a second channel now, so subscribe to this Ninja Plus. Mushrooms are my favorite thing on the entirety of planet Earth, just above family, money, and my iPad. So naturally, I look back fondly to the wacky antics of my first time. But everyone's first mushroom trip has the arbitrary barrier of, how do I even get these? You have to figure out. Up until this point, I had only ever really acquired the za, so I didn't really know where to look. So I did what I do best, and I made someone else figure out my problem for me. Hey Kevin, you buck-toothed freak, I need you to get me some mushroom. I don't know if I can. 2 days after that phone call, I pull up to Kevin's house with the boss, Cole. It was gonna be both of our first times, but Cole said to me, I really want to die from this, and decided 4 grams would be a good amount for his first time, while I was only doing a measly 2. Kevin comes out of his actual woodland shack and meanders over to the whip to show us he's got that stuff. I kiss him on the lips as thanks and pull out my scale to measure the grammage. Although this wasn't my brightest moment because I didn't have the right kind of scale to do this. this. I had brought one of those cooking scales, and the thing was not nearly accurate enough to measure them Johns. Not to mention, it was in broad daylight on the hood of my car, so people kept driving past us, and it was real sus. So we just decided when the time came, we would eyeball it. So the time did come, and we did eyeball it with Adam because he wanted to join us as well. Adam and I were able to get ours down with no problem, but Cole just couldn't stomach it. So this guy puts his shrooms into a blender with just water and makes this nasty shroom water drink. But this wasn't good enough, so he put sugar into the water, which made it worse than before. Since we didn't measure the shroom dispersion correctly, there's no way to know if he really ended up drinking 4 grams or not, but I'm willing to bet that he had more than 4 because this drink sends him to another planet. Cole was where most of the content of this night came from. So let's skip 30 minutes to when they started to hit. As the high came over me, I felt like every aspect of myself was at 11. I could think sharper. I could see clearer. I felt like I could do anything. I was quite literally cracked. An immortal being living amongst the mortals. Adam was just vibing out on the couch listening to music, but Cole was on God mode with me. Considering that he ate double the mushrooms I did, I can't even imagine what he was on. Cole looks over to me and says, "I need to kill God." I didn't completely know what that meant, but I was like, yeah bro, go for it, kill him. So Cole grabs this sword he had, and I can't say what it looked like from his perspective, but I'm sure he was winning. At one point, I took my glasses off, and my vision was so bad that the blurry world without my glasses felt like a whole new place. I thought of it as a personal little pocket dimension I could enter whenever I wanted. But then Cole just yells, "Yo bro, you need to see this," from the bathroom. So I walk over, and he's doing what most people tripping would consider unspeakable. He's looking at himself in the mirror. "What's up?" "Dude, look in the mirror. I swear, the wall tiles don't normally look like this, right?" So I look in the mirror and I don't see shit. "Nah, you're tripping." "Look closer. There's more details than usual." "Oh yeah, I guess I see that. It looks like writing, bro. I think it's an ancient language." This man was positively tripping balls. He starts staring at the wall trying to decipher the ancient language, but I didn't eat enough shrooms to see that, so I just walk away. Once Cole comes out, he says to me, "Bro, I just made time cease to exist. There's no more future or past. Time is no longer linear, bro. And next, I'm gonna create the universe from scratch." So he lays down, shuts his eyes, and starts creating the universe in his mind. I sit down with Adam like, "So what have you been up to, bro?" "Oh, I'm just listening to music." Then Cole walks over again and has more to say. His ass has more to say. "Guys, I don't know if the universe is worth creating. Life is such a beautiful thing, but at the same time, I would be causing every human atrocity. I think you need to go on a walk, dude." So the 3 of us go on a walk around the block. And let me tell you, this walk felt like the most cinematic moment of my life. As the shroom trip came to an end, I thought to myself, mushrooms are very cool. Alright, that's the story. Subscribe. Bye. Here's a big one. You people have wanted this. My first time getting high, as it goes for most people, was a crazy experience. Now, I was at my friend Roderick's house. He's a classic guy. He's in just about every story that I tell at this point. Roderick's house was not like any other house. He lives in luxury, a luxury that a poor, under the poverty line boy like me will flip his shit when he sees. I mean, he's got a piano as you walk into his house. He's got a projector as a TV in his living room. This is the shit you see LA YouTubers live in. He lives in the Incredibles mansion. So Roderick was the weed expert that was going to show me his ways, and I was his apprentice. And this wasn't just my first time smoking weed. I should mention it was also my friend Roman's. The 3 of us were all sleeping over together this night inside Roderick's nice-ass house. Roderick was the real homie this night because he said, "We can't just smoke a wax pen on both of your guys' first time. We gotta get our hands on the real stuff." What we had to do first was acquire the weed because we didn't have anything at this point. So we were going through the process of asking everyone that we knew on Snapchat if they knew somebody that sells weed until we finally landed on one guy. We pull up to his place and it's not scary at all. But this is my first drug deal. I'm anxious in my mind. What if this dude's got a gun? What if he kills us in cold blood? But then this dude comes out of his house with these big ass goggle glasses. He looked like a real dork. This motherfucker was a certified bozo. We could have given this dude a wedgie for the weed. Once we drove off with the weed, we all just burst out laughing because we were expecting the exact opposite of this guy. We had acquired our first weed. Roman and I were just marveling at its beauty. We felt the weed, we smelt the weed, but most importantly, we wanted to smoke the weed. Before we stopped back at Roderick's, we drove to the gas station and he was like, I'll be back in a minute. This won't take long. He comes back with a bottle of Sprite, a pack of gum, a pencil, and a straw. Yo, what is this all for, bro? You'll see, bro. You will see. So we drive back to Roderick's place, run to his bedroom, and assemble all of our stuff. Roman and I just sit back while Roderick works his magic. He drinks the whole Sprite bottle, takes a gum wrapper, and wraps it over the top. He pokes some holes in the wrapper, and then he stabs the side of the bottle and sticks a straw in. And just like that, we had our own homemade bong made. It was a pretty jank way to smoke weed, and it didn't work all that effectively, but we had to make do with what we had. We were on limited resources. So we smoked out the Sprite bottle. And I don't know what was in this weed, but it affected Roman and I in a way weed has never before since then. In my going for a walk on mushrooms video, I mentioned how the mushrooms made my vision like in Minecraft, how your FOV can increase. In my experience, that's pretty usual for mushrooms, but this was the one and only time that I've had this effect solely from weed. And it wasn't just me. Roman had the same experience with his vision. It was so weird. I don't know what was in this goddamn weed, but it had us looking at things crazy. I was so goddamn giggly too that I just couldn't get enough of these guys. I laughed at everything. It didn't stop. After you smoke a good amount of times, I feel like the giggles eventually just go away. But the first time I had the laughs. Then the fabled munchies kicked in and we had no remorse for the kitchen. We started tearing through everything like savages. There was a fruit bowl in the middle of the kitchen, so I went, don't mind if I do, and wiggled my little fingers. I picked out an apple and there was a fly on the apple, and I don't know why, but this fly scared me. I mean, I don't fuck with bugs. So I threw the apple, I projectile tossed it across the living room, and it hit right into a framed painting and shattered the glass. I don't feel good about this even today, but luckily the painting itself wasn't damaged and his parents were not home at the time. It was fucking loud. They would have known what happened. So we started to panic, but thankfully Roderick is the real homie because he vacuumed up the glass for us. Lord knows, neither of our asses could have functioned a vacuum in our current state. And by this time, I started fucking up the Pop-Tarts, and I just forgot about what happened. I wasn't joking when I said we were savages. We were on a real ruffian shit. Roman went back to the room first with his snacks, and as I followed behind him, I entered the room to see that he was unclothed. He was only wearing his undies. He was sitting on Roderick's bed, eating a family bag of chips and watching YouTube videos. I feel like it's almost a universal experience where people smoke weed for the first time and search videos to watch while high on YouTube. And the same videos always just come up too. I know that you have seen this cartoon before. This video had us mesmerized. It was beautiful. We went on a YouTube binge for like over an hour or so, and I couldn't tell you how it happened, but we eventually ended up on Diary of a Wimpy Kid YouTube. We were just enjoying some classics like Greg Heffley is a Sociopath. After we got bored of YouTube, we put on some lo-fi beats, and Roderick had this light projector that put stars all over the walls, and we fell into a slumber. I was paranoid the following week or so because I thought his parents would have noticed the painting frame that I broke, but they never really did. Because of me, there's a painting with no glass in his house, and to this day, nobody has really noticed it at all. So that was the story of the first time I smoked weed. Okay, bye-bye. Studies show that men think about beating up on other dudes about 28 times daily. Thinking about it scientifically, this adds up to my everyday life. The situation of walking down the sidewalk when suddenly another dude starts walking down the same sidewalk in a conflicting fashion always has me thinking, shit, this dude's gotta be about 5'10" and 180 pounds from triangulating him from the distance of 20 meters away. But that's exactly 2 inches shorter than me. As he approaches, I'll quickly jab with my 2 extra inches of reach, immediately debilitating him on the ground. I'll kick his head to knock him unconscious, take his wallet, and walk away in a nonchalant fashion as if nothing happened. Then in reality, to just casually walk past the guy and do nothing as if this isn't how 100% of my human interactions in life have gone so far. It's like that same shit when a car drives past you at night and you imagine they're about to shoot you for no reason. It's natural instincts of violence. And an instinct of violence surely was the thing that befell my little friend group in the 7th grade. That's right, I got jumped when I was 12. It was a Friday afternoon and school had finally let off, and I was itching to let out my animal this weekend, so I hit up the boys. Except that I was 12 and I had the goddamn SpongeBob horn phone, so I needed my mom to text their moms and do all that slop. Soon enough though, the moms pulled through, and I had 2 very classic buddies headed over to my house so I could let out my animal. My doorbell rings, I pitter-patter over and swing that shit open. Roman's standing right there with a suitcase. Bro really came prepared for any possible situation. I mean, damn, a suitcase? But we start messing around on YouTube.com a little bit because this second individual is taking a little longer to show up to my abode. His late arrival will actually domino effect into his downfall because as me and Roman browse, we come across a very funny boy yelling about Sonic, and we want to show our other friends so badly. But in no time, my door rings, we pitter-patter over to the door, swing that shit open, and standing there is none other than this little shit named Alex. Alex was a fucked up kid. He would bring boxes of Mountain Dew into class and down them as if he isn't drinking fucking Mountain Dew. If vapes were around when I was 12, he would most definitely be chiefing those johns like nobody's business. So this evil child arrives at my house, and instantly me and Roman are like, you gotta see this kid on YouTube, man. He's so funny. We watch a few videos, have a few laughs, until Alex gets a massive, sinister grin on his face and says, guys, I want to film a prank video. Which is never what you want to hear from Alex, but we didn't have enough wisdom to know that at the time. Alex specifically wanted to film a Sonic prank at the park gone wrong. And to a 12-year-old, that sounds like the most hype idea on the planet. I also just so happened to have a Sonic plush backpack in my garage as well. So we found the backpack, put it on Alex, and headed over to the park. As we got to the park, we had full view of an empty playground, empty swings, but we had perfect sight of our victims with 5 kids sitting on a park bench all together. So Alex takes out his iPhone to record the audio and voice memos, while Roman records the interaction on his Motorola. We honestly had no idea what Alex was about to do for his Sonic park at the prank gone wrong, but setting up the prank already had us laughing. So Alex actually starts to walk over to these kids, and as he approaches them, they all lock eyesight on him like hawks. Then Alex starts screaming the same nonsense the Sonic kid on YouTube said, like, you guys ruined the Sonic franchise! And the guys on the bench just look at each other like, the fuck is this kid talking about? So Alex keeps going on about this Sonic bit, and me and Roman are watching in awe. We cannot believe that he's actually seeing this through. A possible detail we may have forgot about pranks is that the camera is usually hidden and not 15 feet away in an open field. And I can't speak for this group of 5 children at the park, but I can assume an encounter with a screaming Sonic kid and 2 other kids recording from a distance may have been perceived as a disaster level threat to them. So these kids are like, fuck off, you damn nerds. But Alex holds his ground and keeps yapping, saying that was like their peace agreement. And since it was declined by Alex, they turned to violence. They sent out their smallest of the 5 to approach Alex like a little henchman being tasked to do dirty bidding. This kid jumps down from the park bench and a Boss health bar appears as he runs to Alex. But Alex stood his ground once again. He said, nah, I'd win. Then almost immediately gets picked up by this kid and thrown onto the ground like boom. He's holding down Alex on the ground and bludgeoning his head repeatedly like, damn, was the Sonic kid really that much of a threat, dude? I had never experienced conflict in my life yet, so I hadn't truly realized he was experiencing blunt damage to his head. So I still watched in awe like Big Mouth Patrick. But at this point, Alex is completely out of character. He drops the prank entirely and starts fighting for his life. Now we let a respectful 1v1 play out for a minute, argument in this park without interference. But it didn't take long for us to realize that this fight is not fair. Roman runs in and pulls this kid off at Alex because he's got that dog in him while I'm still watching from a distance. Until one of the kid's buddies starts walking over like, bro, don't interfere, bro. But then, bam, Roman hits him with a cheeky blow because Roman's got that dog with the Latino blood in his veins. All the while, bro is still committing to filming the prank. Roman has been holding the phone this whole time. So that kid backs off, we retrieve the battle-scarred Alex, and we're like, we gotta get out of here, guys. This shit got real. Alex can't hardly walk, so we gotta help him home while these kids are yelling at us like, you deserved that! Bug off! That's why you're the strongest, little bro! While we take the walk of shame home. But this altercation wasn't over. We couldn't end on a loss. As we got home, we laid down the punished Alex in bed to revive his strength. In Fortnite terms, we brought his reboot card to the reboot van. The three of us were experiencing complete rock bottom mentally and had to make moves to heal. Except for Alex, because he couldn't move. And what better way to get back at bullies than firearms? So Roman and I scoured the garage for our most powerful Nerf guns and made the walk back. I don't know why the fuck we did Nerf guns because the bullets don't even hurt, but we make the journey back to the park strapped like a couple of honest working red-blooded blue-collar Americans. As we pull up, we start shooting this group of kids and it inflicts no damage to them and only causes the group to all charge at us. But what I didn't mention is that the Nerf guns were only a diversion to lure in the kids as we threw our secret carton of eggs at them. After a few failed eggs, we eventually hit one of the kids and he starts running away. Two more of them realized we had those shits on us and decided to turn around with the other kid, leaving only two more kids approaching us. These little boys were sprinting to beat up on us and rapidly started to approach, so I decided to fall back, but Roman held his ground. I was like, you need to fall back, but Roman didn't listen because as the kids got right up to him, he flipped the Nerf gun around and hit one of them over the head with the goddamn handle of the shits. Like, damn, that kid got concussed, bro. Of course the other one retreated after that, and the two of us returned quickly home from war. We reported back to our fallen soldier and relayed the intel of our successful reconnaissance mission. And although through all the violence of that interaction, the most painful part of this day is that Roman started seriously stressing about hitting these kids on camera. I wanted him to upload the video so badly, but he decided to delete the prank we recorded because he didn't want his mom to find out what he did to these youngins. Since that whole event happened to me at the park, I was too afraid to go back there as a kid. I didn't want to one-man the park and end up with 5 little boys ending my life and stomping on my head and my vision becoming black for pranking them about Sonic. I guess the life lesson here is that if you give into your animalistic urges of violence, don't record them for an awesome YouTube prank, because there's a chance your mom might fuck, you know what, I'm just gonna use that take. When it comes to high school, we all have shit memories. Nobody's decision making will be depthful when they don't have consciousness. Even when it was good, it was never all that good. Today, I'm unfortunately here to recall upon a time that has fallen down in infamy. It was a certified bad time. Back in 11th grade, we needed to up the ante and raise the stakes on a daily basis, merely to keep entertained and probably alive with our hormone brains. So we concocted this half-scheme idea to smoke gold. And what I meant by that was to roll a golden joint. Surely an absolute premium experience to be had. We wanted that man in the moon weed to get us out of this motherfucking world and to place into our wraps made of gold. But that wasn't enough. We had the brilliant idea of suggesting a boys' feast this night, featuring a steak, a beautiful steak, as the main dish. We fancied ourselves sophisticated philosophers and men of taste. The philosophers in question being me, Roman, Roderick, and Adam. Our combined brain power told us we needed to act fast, or else Adam's plug may take a nap. So Adam texted him at lunch real quick to secure a dub before Mans hit his afternoon weed coma. After school, we hopped in the whip and skirted off. Questing with the boys was never any lightweight situation, you understand. A Socratic philosophical debate carried out inside revolving around how much coinage was required for the night's festivities. If we pooled our money, we had $47, which was probably enough to buy the steak in the weed that we wanted. We pulled up to Safeway and parked the whip to commence the shopping. This was my first time buying meat to cook. I didn't know what to look for, and neither did anyone else. We bought the steak, got in, and got the fuck out of there like that. Adam's plug lived right up the hill, so we zoomed up the hill right after and filled into his basement like weed gnomes. When we got the za, we tell him about our quest and ask him if he knows how or where we could find golden wraps. He goes, "Hold on," as he pulls out a golden cone and a small piece of gold paper. "You can either have a pre-roll for 20 or the filter for free, but you can't have both." This is what I meant when I said high school was shite. This moment right here should have been it all. Anyways, the boys mentally connect for a moment and confirmed that we're all like, fuck this guy. So we grab the filter and head out. Before we leave, he gives us 3 shops that wouldn't card, according to him. With 2 of the 3 ingredients scored, everybody hopped back in Adam's car and set course for the first shop. We for real felt like American navies in this moment. Brave seamen who ventured into unknown waters for booty. As we pulled into the parking lot, Adam said he wanted to go in first. So we blessed his ass with ancient prayers before exiting the vehicle. He comes back empty-handed and looking a tad unnerved. He explains that he went in to find a really chill, young-looking guy behind the counter. But as he started to browse around, he noticed that there was a bit of a switch up. An old guy sat crossing his arms and glaring at Adam from where the other guy was. This did not vibe with Adam very well, so he bolted out the door before he let anything else happen. Exhibit 19 as to why high school sucks. The shit you have to risk your literal life and limb over was never worth it. Looking back, this was not worth the amount of trouble we could have gotten into. From here on out, we decided to call the places to ask if they had any specialty wraps, but the second and third shops that the plug had given us were a no-go. So we decided to Google 24 karat gold weed wrapping paper for sale near me. This turned up some interesting results, and after some more Googling, we narrowed it down to one shop that might have had it. At this point, we're impatient and morally sabotaged after escaping a nearly fatal encounter with the last. As we're pulling into this decrepit looking empty strip mall, we consult the lexicon and find a ritual of protection for our boy Roderick. We gotta buff him with Dark Moon Blade before sending our man out into the fray of Dark Root Garden, bro. This motherfucker Roman starts chanting inaudibly. We wrap up our blessings and Roderick steps out ready to face our collective demons. Adults in authority positions in possession of shit that we want. We wait 5 minutes, then like 8, and then about 10 minutes go by and there's still no sign of him. Finally, he comes out and it looks good. He's got that little grin we all knew meant good things. Roderick went sexy beast mode and not only found the wraps, but convinced this guy that he was 21 enough to buy them. So we had the wraps, we had the za, we had the steak, and we had our magical, precious filter. All that was needed now was to assemble the stones like Thanos and rip fat tokes of this golden excellence. Adam's parents still hadn't gotten home yet, so we zoomed over there to prepare the feast. Adam cracks out the pan while Roman and Roderick take over the cooking preparations. Everyone crowds around the cooking skillet watching the steak come up as Adam tries to roll the joint. The problem was that we had not expected the golden wrapping paper to be as thin and slippery as it was. Adam's fingers couldn't really get a good tuck going and fold the paper over. Micro weed nuggets start falling out and I foresee what is about to happen before it does. This moment is God sent. I prophesized the fall of the joint. As we're all there admiring this magnificent cut of beef sizzling on the burner, Adam's hands dip down low, causing every single last crumb of weed to roll out the tip into the steak. Nobody says anything. Then, without saying a word or anything out loud, we all lean forward and start trying to inhale the sizzling weed crumbs off the frying pan. But of course, it doesn't work, so we all cry and piss ourselves for the rest of the night. And that's why high school is ass. Remember the height of quarantine when all we did was rot in our bedrooms trying to figure out which TikTok bedroom we'd all sleep in? Those were some good times. And if you think about it realistically, those months were probably miserable for most of us. My time in quarantine had me getting legitimately fat, but I speak for the majority when I say we'd all take that any day over being a member of society. I don't know if the cause of lockdown was the government plotting from the shadows, a viral leak from some scientific laboratory, or if it really was a Chinese dude eating a bat at the market like some dudes were saying. And I'm obviously not the most qualified person to speak on this because I'm a YouTuber, but man, what I can say is at this point, I'd be willing to sacrifice myself and personally fly all the way to China and eat a few bats of my own if that's what it really takes to bring back the good days. So let's go back 1 week prior to the COVID lockdown on that last day of school before spring break 2020. Lil Uzi had finally dropped Eternal a Take and everyone was listening with their AirPods in class, waiting for that sweet week off of school. During those days, there was some talk of the coronavirus, but nobody really took it too seriously at this point. We didn't think it was gonna spread over to the United States, and as students, we didn't really care. The only thing that we wanted to do was not go to school. So once school actually did get off, there wasn't a second of downtime before the gang all hopped on Fortnite with an entire week ahead of us to grind for the golden Ronaldo skin, blissfully ignorant of what was to come. Now personally, I had actually gotten myself into quite the peculiar situation during week 1 of spring break, because on the first day before any kind of lockdown was announced, I got on a bus and left. So when the lockdown was officially announced, I had to stay at the homie Tony's house for a whole week until I could catch a bus home, and that officially began the first week of lockdown. At this point, it wasn't really thought of as lockdown though. It was seen more like spring break 2, and once people got news of the spring break extension, they went even deeper into the degenerate activity they were on. Dudes went from playing Fortnite all day to living in salty springs, from scrolling TikTok 8 hours at a time to becoming e-girls, from drinking all night to drinking all day. What I'm saying is that 2 weeks off from all responsibilities hit different and gave people way too much free time. This was also the time when social distancing first started to be enforced, but in the case of being bunkered down with Tony, social distancing wasn't really a possibility for us. We just played PS4 and drank smoothies all day, and it was probably the peak of my life. While the world was just starting to burn, me and Tony had an unlimited strawberry supply at his house for the infinite smoothie glitch. But that lifestyle would come to an end quickly. After the week passed, I had to say goodbye to my paradise with the homie Tony. It was time to get on home and have my first day of a lockdown lifestyle. By the time week 3 of lockdown rolled around was when people started to realize that this shit was real shit, because public school had officially gone virtual at this point, and ain't nobody about to do all that. I was dodging these virtual assignments as if they didn't have real world consequences. I was just too deep in the Fortnite grind. I had to get the Ronaldo skin. It wasn't just me though. I don't know a single person who didn't just drop school altogether after attempting their first online assignment. But what really sealed the deal on dropping school was when I shaved my entire head bald, because there's no way I was about to show up in a Zoom call with my monkey looking head ass. So I just opted out of school to avoid the humiliation. This may just be my collective friend group I speak for here, but every guy I knew shaved their heads bald at this point. 3 weeks locked in the bedroom had us on the same mental stability as the Joker. We were all going insane. We saw this as our life's only chance to be bald without social repercussions. But crossing that 2-month line is when we all truly started to deteriorate as humans. There's no easy way for me to say this next part, but the lack of physical activity had me gaining some weight. And coupled with my new hairstyle, I was unfortunately fat and bald at 18 years old. My sleep schedule was just as bad as my haircut too. I was going to bed at sunrise and waking up at 3 p.m. like Batman. The amount of nights I'd try and pull an all-nighter in an attempt to save my circadian rhythms, only for it to completely backfire and make it worse, is beyond me. And just as my sleep schedule couldn't withstand 2 months of lockdown, my grades could not withstand 2 months of missed assignments. My report card was failing all across the board. But about this time was when the most historic moment of the lockdown happened. The school board started stressing that this year's grade point average was gonna be a 0.2 and had no choice but to pull the plug. So they officially announced that every assignment beyond lockdown didn't count towards final grades. I remember just how joyous this news was to me, and considering how everything else in life was falling apart, it hit different to hear some good news for a change. I guess you could partially thank me for not doing my assignments and saving all of America's GPAs collectively. So when the school year eventually ended around month 3, summer break made absolutely no difference on our lives. This is when the weeks really started to blend together and things got bad. That social isolation was really starting to get to me at this point. Spending every waking moment grinding my life away for Golden Peely was bad for my mental. It got to the point where I now have no memory of even my family during quarantine. I have no clue what the people in my own home were getting up to. The only change I made in my day-to-day was eventually switching from Fortnite to this game called Fishing Planet, and that was definitely a downgrade that reflected my mental state. At this point, I felt like I was really starting to fail as a human being. I don't know if anyone else would do this, but after staying indoors all day, I needed to get outside. So every few nights around midnight, I would just walk around dark and empty neighborhoods by myself. Those late night walks all alone through empty neighborhoods in an attempt to get outside started to hit deep. So I decided to get myself a job for the summer. So after doing a bit of searching, I eventually found a car wash that would take me. I worked there for a solid week or two before I just stopped showing up. I didn't last very long re-entering the real world. My time indoors had my mental discipline deteriorated. Coupled with the fact that I was still fat, I was working outdoors in the Arizona summer sun, and the whole time I had to wear a mask, it just wasn't something I could do. The only thing that got me through those shifts was watching Avatar on my lunch breaks because Netflix had just added the show. But Ninye, you only didn't enjoy quarantine because you spent your time poorly. That is true. Most of us spent quarantine rotting and probably didn't do shit when we could have been out hustling. If I went back, I probably would have read a book or two. Get my intelligence up, you know? Maybe I wouldn't be so stupid if I did that. If there was a tier list for things to do in quarantine, gaming all night would probably be a C. Sleeping all day would probably be D tier because that never feels good. Eating terribly like I did would be an F because being unhealthy like Rick Ross like that is just a terrible feeling. And not exercising would probably also be an F because it's just gonna get me built like Rick Ross even quicker. But it is what it is. And now that I say it all out loud, I don't think I particularly missed the COVID lockdown. The next few months that followed weren't all that different from the last few that already weren't that great. It's like looking back on it, all the pain and misery just despawns from our memories, and all that remains is how we had nothing to do. It's easy to compare any kind of work we have to do now to the whole lot of nothing we had to do then and wish for it to come back, but that life is just not sustainable. And also millions of people died because of COVID, so that's also a downside to consider. Either way, that's the video. Subscribe. Bye. Guys, I'm not a stupid person. I'm actually very smart. But I accidentally got a nicotine addiction. It wasn't even my fault though. It was just the way the world dealt its cards to me. I think it's very important to understand that nicotine is bad. And now that that's out of the way, let me explain to you how I accidentally got a nicotine addiction. So the day prior to the birth of my nicotine addiction, I smoked some King gas with a lawyer and it utterly defeated me. During that night when I was blasted, my boy Roderick gave me his vape, and without realizing it, I went home with it in my pocket. So the following day, this thing was just sitting around my house. I texted Roderick, bro, I got the mint elf bar at my place. Come and get it, big dog. Bro, after last night, I can't do it. I'm incapacitated. I'll just get it tomorrow, alright? And thus began the first day with my vape. After what had transpired the other night, I won't lie, I was a bit incapacitated as well. So I thought I'd take the day easy, stay inside, and watch a little anime on my iPad like a 12-year-old child. Since I spent the entire day inside, I was constantly tempted by the vape, just lying around. I didn't feel the need to hit it yet, but the morbid curiosity of the vape was building in my head as the day went on. I had vaped before, but I had never been able to actually get a nicotine high before. So as the night came around, I had the thought, alright, I know these Johns are terrible and life-destroying, but it's technically not my vape, So once I experience this head rush, I'll just get rid of it tomorrow and I'll never have a chance to get hooked. So I start sucking this thing like a Division I football player until I finally feel my first nicotine high. I feel like I compare the high to if you drank a cup of coffee, but all of the energy was condensed into 2 minutes and then it suddenly goes away in an instant. But once I got it the first time, I called it quits, not knowing the floodgates I had just opened. It's day 2, so I gave Roderick that call, but this time he says to me, "Yo, I'm sick as a dog. I can't get the vape. I'll let you know when I get better though." I had another unexpected day ahead of me with the vape, and once again, I held off until the night, because once dusk fell, I'm hitting this little thing like crazy. This day, I hit it a few more times than I'd like to admit. I got into what I would like to call a mode and ripped the vape listening to Nightcore. I think it's safe to say this vape was already beginning to change me in insurmountable ways. So as day 3 rolled around, I was like, I can't be doing this. I gotta keep clean today. I won't chief that stinky elf bar one time. And I actually did keep to it. I resisted the urge until the dreaded day 4 came around. Don't even get me started on day 4. Oh my god. So I was running the usual, laying in bed, living in my own filth, and watching iPad anime. I was feeling like a degenerate and fittingly binging Chainsaw Man. I was just as low as Denji. There's a specific part of the show where this girl with an eye patch says, "Hey, you smoke cigarettes?" And this guy with a sword says to her, "Nah, it bad for my bones or whatever." To which she replies, "You'll never survive in this world if you don't have a cigarette addiction," and peer pressures him into getting a nicotine addiction. Now, that peer pressure worked on me too. This scene had me hitting the vape like never before. I was holding the iPad like, I want to be unhinged. I need a vice. She's so bad, bro. I just want to be like her. Oh my god. So Chainsaw Man the anime and this woman in particular are who I really blame for starting my nicotine dependency. Not myself. I start mindlessly ripping the nicotine as I'm watching this show, and I'm not even feeling anything half the time. I'm just doing it for the sake of doing it. Then another landmark moment happens. There's a scene where my favorite character is in bed looking like a fine dish, and I'm like, oh my god! Oh yeah, that hits the spot. Now, as I finished the season, I got ready for bed, and then I realized I couldn't sleep. It's hard to explain, but something about the nicotine made me so tired, but at the same time unable to sleep. But it was one of those nights where tears well up in your eyes and you violently punch your pillows out of frustration. Now that the ball is rolling, day 5 was just as bad as day 4, except that I was doing it all day. I didn't just wait for the night to do it. I was not even thinking, I was just hitting the thing, since I knew eventually Roderick would get it from me, and so it didn't really matter how much I did, right? Well, that mentality went on for the next 3 days until I finally got the text from Roderick that he was ready to get the vape. He comes over to my house and I'm unrecognizable from the week before. My eyes are shrunken, my bones are brittle, my teeth are black and rotting. As I hand the vape over to him, he pulls a little too hard and my arm comes off with it. Now, that's a slight exaggeration, but after he picked it up, the withdrawals started to kick in. It was just supposed to be a fun little experiment, but within 1 week, I had become an avid nicotine smoker. My craving for nicotine was stronger than ever. Every inch of my body felt like it needed nicotine, and I couldn't help but wonder how much longer I could go without satisfying my nicotine addiction. My health was beginning to deteriorate as well. My breathing became labored and irregular. Headaches appeared on a regular basis. It felt like there was no escape from this addiction, and no matter how hard I tried, it seemed impossible to break free from it. But as time passed, it went away and it was actually not hard at all. And now I believe that all nicotine addicts are just weak. Okay, that's the story. Subscribe. Bye. I've seen videos recently of people telling their experiences going to school high, so I thought I'd share my experience of sneaking into my high school while high. A complete Metal Gear Solid covert operation, breaking into my high school after hours. It was very illegal. And just a disclaimer to anyone watching this, don't follow in my footsteps. This was a bad decision. I could have been locked up for the atrocities I committed this night. and I can't go back, bro. This story starts on a summer afternoon of my senior year. I was at my boy's birthday party. We'll call this particular birthday boy Cameron. There was a handful of others there, but they weren't particularly important to the story, so we'll just call them anonymous individuals. The vibes were peak, and we were out grilling in the backyard, making some of the best food known to man. For Cameron's birthday, his parents got a hotel so that he could invite as many people over as he wanted, which, as you know, means the night came and so did that gas. And for Cameron's birthday, you know we all had to turn up and smoke until we forgot who we were and why we were there. People were throwing up, and at one point, I swear this guy just started playing Valorant for no reason. Shit was just happening, and it was a good time. As it got pretty late into the night, people started to wind down, but I was still feeling a little nefarious, as I do. I asked around if anyone wanted to go for a walk, but everyone was pretty gone, so this walk of mine became a solo mission. Something about Cameron's house is that he lives about a block away from the school, and I hadn't been there all summer, so I thought it would be fun to walk around the school grounds. And I won't lie, even though the neighborhood is pretty safe and it was only a short walk, being all high and alone at night was starting to get me a little paranoid. It just felt a little too quiet for me, but I think that was really just the weed talking. Also, an important note to add is that my high school is kind of set up in a weird way. There's a main building to the place and a few separate buildings for the classes, and the rest is entirely outdoors. There's no hallways, which made sneaking around the cameras pretty easy because I could just come at the building from any angle. And since I had been going here for a few years, I knew where all the cameras were located at anyways. Despite having this knowledge, my high ass decided to walk straight through the front entrance where there is a camera directly pointed at me. I walked down the center of the courtyard of the school and just tried to open the front door. I could not have been less covert. It was like I did everything in my power to be seen. I don't know why opening the front door was the first thing I did either, because breaking into the school was not my original plan. I just started wanting to get into the building. Eventually, I went over to the side entrance of the building, and for whatever reason, it was unlocked. So I walked in, and it had a very similar feeling to walking into a Toys R Us as a kid. I knew I wasn't supposed to be here, and that made it so much more fun. As I walked in, I passed right by another camera, but I really just didn't give a fuck. I'm pretty sure that one is fake anyways, probably, and I made a beeline for the bathrooms. You know when you have to be in school at night for whatever reason and life just feels different in an indescribable way? It was very similar to that feeling as I stood in this bathroom. Leaving, I noticed this merch table, and I just snatched this black sweatshirt and proceeded to wear it for the rest of the night. I just stole from the school. I tried to get into some of the classrooms, but they were all locked except for the biology room, so I just went in there. It was pitch black, and I wasn't about to turn the lights on, so I had to walk around with my phone flash on, and this is when I started to hear police sirens. I went into panic mode. I looked out the window and I was making a plan to run instantly. The police had to drive past the school on the road and take 2 lefts to get into the parking lot. If I see that first left, I take the back exit and run into the forest, which should give me enough time to escape to the park and back home. I just gotta hope that they don't check the cameras and recognize my face, and then that was when I was like, oh shit. Even if I did run, I still have this sweater on. There's physical proof that somebody has been in here and they're gonna know it's missing, check the cameras and find me, and I can't go back to jail, bro. And then the police didn't take the turn and I was chilling, but I was still on my toes. I did a little peeking around and eventually struck gold. I found the crate that had all the Chromebooks and MacBooks, as well as another backpack filled with them. It took every fiber in my body to not steal this laptop, but I decided to put it back so that I didn't face jail time because I just can't go back, bro. There was probably like $500,000 of equipment that I could have just stolen in that room, which is crazy. And I wanted to take something, so I just snatched this little 3D printed astronaut, and I actually still have it with me now. I left the classroom and tried a few other buildings, but they were all locked, and I was getting a little sussed out at this point until one door opened, and that door was none other than the front office of this school. I could have gone onto the laptops and changed my grades. I could have set myself up for a future in there. They even had more MacBooks in that office too, but I left because I had been there for a while and I was just bugging out. So after a long journey, I headed home in my new sweatshirt and my little astronaut toy. I got to Cameron's house and just slept on the floor. In hindsight, I'm glad no one came with me because it probably would have made a lot more noise and for sure would have gotten us caught. And also the fact that they left so many doors unlocked is just insane to me. Criminals could have just been crawling through my school at night and I would have had no idea. They could be crawling through your school right now. Think about that. Anyways, I could have been arrested for trespassing that night, but instead I got a cool astronaut toy. I feel like everyone's first time eating edibles involves disappointment, quickly followed by a wave of high hitting like the GTA 5 train. It's just unstoppable, leaving yourself floating at the mercy of the sea of THC, just hoping you didn't get too high. It's the classic these edibles ain't shit dilemma. And in my case, my first edibles really were shit because the mixture of THC in these brownies I got were just not evenly spread throughout. I got my first edibles from this one kid I went to school with. I didn't really know the guy, but I knew Roman and he knew the guy, so I trusted the guy. He had baked his own edible brownies he was selling at school, so I decided to jump on the opportunity and I bought 3 of them for Cole, Roman, and me. We got through our day of school with the weekend ahead of us, so we decided to all assemble at Roman's place that night and eat the brownies. And if anything bad were to happen, we had Saturday and Sunday to recover from this. So it's around 6 p.m. and the 3 of us are all bunkered down in Roman's bedroom. We had prepared for the munchies, so we had boxes of Oreos, bags of Doritos, and 3 Happy Meals for the 3 of us. We got our brownies and we prepared to enter the high. Wherever this brownie takes us, we don't know. We could very well come out of this new men. Let us surrender to the high in complete acceptance. There's no fighting what's to come. So after the epic speech, we eat our brownies and we start playing Minecraft. We make a new world with the hopes that we'll make some weird stuff we can look back on when we're sober, but I won't lie, we don't end up playing the game for very long. Just about every 4 or 5 minutes, we're all like, feel anything yet? No. Nah. Damn, I hope we didn't get scammed. After 30 minutes or so pass, Cole just falls over and starts laughing. These brownies hit him hard. Almost as hard as the carbon monoxide poisoning that will be taking out Chains for Real on the 16th of October, 2023 at 4:08 a.m. The 2 of us turn around and this dude is already shredding into the Happy Meal with no remorse. Damn, that shit must have really hit. Seeing Cole act a fool had some kind of chain reaction on me because I started to feel these brownies almost right away and I started tearing into my Happy Meal with no remorse. We get our toys out and at the time McDonald's had Frozen 2 toys, so I got this man that looks like he's made out of literal shit and Cole got the same guy. These toys were also projectiles, so we're just shooting each other with the shit man and losing it. This whole time Roman is just sitting here sober as a doorknob. I mentioned how the THC wasn't spread evenly throughout the brownies. What ended up happening with that was Roman didn't get high at all, while Cole and I got a super concentrated part of the batch. So we're having a good time while Roman just has to assume the parental figure position for the night. It's unfortunate, but Roman never experiences fortune, so it is what it is. The 2 of us completely ignore Minecraft to destroy every crumb of food we have. I start getting thirsty, so I leave the room and I start walking to the kitchen. I see Roman's mom coming in my direction, so I quickly just make a turn to go into the bathroom to avoid her. When I walk into the bathroom, it feels so still. It's a little cold and there's not a sound. I stare at myself in the mirror for like 10 minutes without breaking eye contact, and I just think to myself, damn, I'm really just a guy on drugs right now. My thoughts get broken by a loud thump from outside the room. So I go out and I go back to the bedroom and I just see all the Happy Meal boxes crushed flat on the ground. Cole is just walking around talking about Don Juan, some Spanish dude that seduces women, I guess. I don't really know. I'm like, yo, what was that noise? And I don't even know what Roman said back to me because I just enter a new dimension in this moment. I don't know what it is, but I'm just hit so hard. I tune out the entire external world and get taken somewhere entirely different. I lay on the bed and just focus all my attention on the sound of the Minecraft soundtrack that's still playing on the game we abandoned. Me and the bed just become one being, and I'm like this for the rest of the night. I don't even notice it, but Cole and Roman leave the room, and apparently they went off on a walk and got chased by a dog or something. I'm not all too sure because I was gone and out for the rest of the night, but that's just what they told me. The next morning, I woke up feeling super tired, but it was also kind of a nice tired. I just felt chill. Roman was fine, but Cole's pants had an entire bottom half of the leg ripped off. I was in such a chill mindset, I didn't even bother to ask, but it seemed like those two really went through some shit. Once the night was over and I had successfully done my first edible, I look back on it glad that Roman didn't get to experience it at all, because fuck him. Edibles are cheeky little buggers. You never know exactly what you'll get from them. Sometimes you'll eat one and feel nothing, sometimes you'll eat one and feel everything, and sometimes you'll eat one, think you feel nothing, so you eat another and another until all you feel is pain everywhere. The trick is simply getting them from trustworthy sources and being a little patient with the gummy. But somehow this seems too hard for most people, myself included. I was neither patient nor safe this fateful afternoon, which made for my most intense edible experience ever. Now, this was back in high school, so getting from a reliable source isn't as easy as it is now. Instead of getting the edibles from a dispensary, you have to get them from Howard, a grade above you, that claims he definitely is the Heisenberg of edibles and can cook up the best stuff. It doesn't help that I was surely at the peak of Mount Stupid on the Dunning-Kruger effect curve, where my confidence was at an all-time high with weed and my experience was very low. I was naive in the face of Howard's homemade edibles, so I bought a batch of them after school, took them home for the weekend, and prepared for an epic freaking time while I had the house to myself. You already know, before I ate these, I was showing them off to the boys. I was like, look at the fresh booty this young boy got his hands on. But I wasn't about wasting time. It was business time. It was time to eat the edibles. I started by just eating one of the 4 I had bought, and right from the moment it touched my tongue, I could taste just how weed infested these brownies were. But I got it down. Then, with every passing second, I analyzed how I felt. And when you think about time that hard, it makes it feel like it passes way slower than it actually does. What feels like 30 minutes is actually 10, and what feels like a weak edible is actually a bombshell that hasn't gone off. So I thought, this one should have hit by now. I guess it's just weak. If this is how one feels, I can definitely take an extra 2. And we all know how this goes. As all of these edibles hit at once, my body is instantly, essentially paralyzed. I got the cotton mouth of a lifetime, which marked the only time in my life where I wanted water more than pussy, money, or weed. So I just lay here like, god damn, I didn't sign up for this. So I try and roll over to get my phone and text the boys group chat that I was on my deathbed. But but my body couldn't roll over without me using 100% of my brain power to do so. As I picked up my phone, it felt insanely heavy. I had the 40-pound iPhone. The phone was just way too heavy for me to pick up, so I was left with one option. I couldn't text. I had to send a voice memo. Yo, guys, this shit is hitting for real. I think I need help. Send over the reinforcements to my place. I'm dying. Which was a pretty funny message to follow from the previous one. So once the message was out, so was I. My body shut down for I don't even know how long. But when I came back into consciousness, it was like I was viewing myself laying in the bed from a third-person view. This didn't last long though, because I got back to my body pretty quickly. But for a moment there, when I saw myself, I thought that I had died and I was leaving my body, but somehow I rationalized myself out of it and thought, there's no way I'm dying. I'm just on a lot of drugs. People always think they're gonna die when they're like this. I don't know how I was able to rationalize myself out of thinking I was dying considering how high I was, but I guess I'm just the GOAT. I can just do it. So I look over at my phone and I see that Roman is calling me. What's up, bro? Are you good, bro? Partially. Come over to my house though. So we came over with Cole and Adam, and as they rang the doorbell, I was faced with a real dilemma. Shit. How am I gonna let them into my house? So I tried to stand up, but instantly just fell on the ground. I had to crawl on the ground over to the stairs and I just fell down them. I was way too high. There was honestly no other way I could get down, but I was also so high I didn't feel pain from falling down the stairs, so it was all good. I unlocked the door still on the ground with my toes and then just kicked it as hard as I could to let them know they could come in. The three of them stood over my lifeless body and asked, "Bro, are you okay? How do you feel?" So I reached into my pocket and I pulled out the last brownie. Boys, eat this. You'll know a fraction of what I've been through if you eat this. But I need water first. So I get my water, and surprisingly, the three of them just split the brownie and ate it like that. I guess high school boys are just that desperate they go feral at the sight of any free weed. I wanted to be transported to the couch, so I got picked up from my limbs and brought over to the most comfy couch I've ever felt. We turned on the TV and the first channel that was on was Paw Patrol. It was incomprehensible to me. Then I got some of the most devilish munchies in my life. So I postmated Chipotle. But at this time, the three of these boys were also starting to feel the munchies. Despite eating that small portion of the brownies, it was hitting them enough. So Adam was like, "Bro, I'm so hungry." And my high ass replied, "Oh, me too, don't worry, I'm gonna get Postmates." And I ordered another Chipotle burrito for me and Adam, forgetting that I had ordered the Postmates prior. I guess the group of these three guys picked up on this, so they started to get me to order as much Postmates as they could. Once the burritos started coming in, I'm freaking out because I don't understand where all of these orders are coming from. I thought I had discovered a real-life infinite food glitch because 4 different orders and 7 different burritos were delivered to my house. But alas, it was just my friends sucking me dry of every cent I have. So we got all of our burritos, brought them in a big pile, we held our hands around the burritos, and we prayed for this meal. We prayed to God and thanked him for this bountiful feast we had. And with that, there were 2 extreme lessons I learned this night. Don't buy edibles from Howard, and don't trust your friends. They will try and get as many burritos out of you as they can. Okay, that's the story. Subscribe. Bye. I've done mushrooms a handful of times now, and I've only really had good experiences with it. I like that shit. Except for one time. I wouldn't call this necessarily a bad trip per se, but rather just a little freaky at times. I was chilling with my 2 boys. We'll call them Roderick and Cole. It was a Friday, September night at Cole's place with the good vibes and that good gas we was smoking. There's not much to say about the beginning of this night because it was before some of the more memorable moments happened, but I do have a little voice memo from it that I can play with. We're in the kitchen right now and the lights are off and there's a blue light emanating from Cole's bedroom and I'm walking into the light.
Thieves and beggars.
Traveler, where have you come from?
Travis.
This is Skyrim.
Eventually into the night, Cole brought out some mushrooms, which we had not discussed doing beforehand, and I was not entirely prepared for. He was like, yo, boys, we gotta do these shrooms. And we were both game. A little thing about Cole's place is that he lives on the top floor of his apartment. So best believe we were feeling bougie with the supreme views. We were staring out the window, looking down at the street when the shrooms hit it. And combined with the weed, it just sent us. I guess staring at the window was starting to give these boys some ideas because Roderick was like, bro, we should go for a walk. Which sounded good in the moment, but in hindsight, it's kind of a bad idea to walk around town late at night on mushrooms and completely baked. But we went out anyways. If you've ever been in this kind of mind state, you know how everything just seems to have this gloss over it that just makes you giggle. We are trying to get out the door and down the stairs with these big grins on our face, chuckling down each step. I don't know if anyone had seen or heard us at this time, but I do know, I am sure that if they did, they knew what was going down. One of the first things I noticed was how I could see more. It was like when you turn up your field of vision in Minecraft and you can just see a wider view. And we were just staring at this brick pillar. It's hard to explain, but everything just felt like Minecraft. I was convinced that this pillar was made out of like 3 Minecraft blocks stacked on top of each other, and it was the coolest thing I had ever seen. Cole threw out the idea of going to college campus, which from where we were was only about a 10-minute walk, which sounded great because there's a ton of sick architecture to look at there, but also there's a ton of people and students walking around. But you know, what's the worst that could happen? So we were down. We had the objective. We have to get to campus. The particular neighborhoods we had to walk through to get to campus were very hilly, which my mind liked a lot. I don't know why, but I kept saying, bro, this is like Disneyland, bro. This is just like Disneyland, bro. And then this lady sprints right past us. We didn't think any of it at first, but then a few minutes of walking later, there were these 3 big homeless dudes walking in the same direction. In hindsight, I don't think these people were following her, considering how slow they were walking and how far away they were, but my mind made a connection. I was like, wait a minute, I think we just walked past a situation. And my boys were like, yo, I think you're right. I think that was a situation. So we felt the need to bring justice upon these people and intervene. We gotta help her out. But then I looked at these homeless dudes. These 3 homeless dudes were all bigger than the 3 of us. And in that moment, these homeless guys were not just homeless guys. They were predator and I was prey. I felt like an animal looking at these people. These dudes could end me in an instant if they wanted to. So I turned around and I went the other way. And there it was. On the top of this hill was a full view of the college campus. It was so bright and welcoming. It was my saving grace from whatever had just happened. Walking onto campus, Cole started to get really into the architecture. And to be fair, it is really nice buildings. It does look cool. But he was like really into it. He was running around the place and he wanted to see all of it. But considering what had happened prior, that just wasn't an energy level that I could match him on. Eventually, going through campus a little deeper, we found that there was an entire amusement park that we didn't know about. I guess it was homecoming night and they had set up Ferris wheels and little rides. It was crazy and none of us knew about this. All those lights from the rides you would think would be so appealing to my shroomy brain, but since it was later into the night, only the workers were really around and they were in the process of taking down the rides, which kind of gave off this creepy abandoned amusement park vibe, which is never a good
vibe to be in. So as we walked through the park, I noticed that one of the workers, he looked a little familiar to me. So upon closer examination, I recognized him as my own flesh and blood human father. This was my dad. He was just there. I guess he was just working some random job that I had no idea about, but my mind freaked out. I did not want to speak to my dad while I was on drugs, so I did this awkward speed walk thing to get away, but not too fast because I didn't want to bring attention to me, but you know, just like kind of a little walk. I swear I got within like a foot of him and he did not notice. It was a close call. At this point, I just wanted to go home, bro. Roderick was really just chilling. He was just having a good time, and Cole was still acting like a goddamn fool. This dude started dancing around while we walked around the campus with no regard to the people passing. It was sus. It was sus. But honestly, that's kind of a mindset I think everyone wishes they could be on. But considering what happened that night, I just wasn't there. I had to pull the plug at the night at this point, so I called up my girlfriend to pick me up. I was not about to walk all the way back. She picked me up, and when we got back to her place, I got the best sleep of my life. I was so relieved that I was in bed, it felt unreal. Despite the hectic night, we still got the good ending. If you're ever under the influence of shrooms, I would personally refrain from going out into populated areas for your walks. You can still go outside, I just stick to trails and like forest type walks. And if you start to freak out a little bit, make sure you have a girlfriend to call and pick you up. And if you don't, I'm not surprised. But
dabs are an extremely potent method of smoking that I don't even mess with or really understand. You need this little thingamabobber, this doohickey, a tiny ivory ball that spins around, and a whole blowtorch. I tried to watch this tutorial to understand how it worked, but I ended up more confused than I came in. So I'm not gonna try and understand how this high-level Winterhold Skyrim sorcery works. That's for the high elves to know. The only thing I know is you use a blowtorch on THC oil, and that's crazy to me. So don't look to me for information. I never made it out of pre-calculus. I just tell the funny stories. So a few years ago, I found this rando at school because my little buddy Roman has a way of locating strangers and instantly befriending them. We could call this dude, Lois, ruler of the High Elves. So Roman comes up to me and he's like, yo, I met this dude named Lois in my class. You want to come over to his house with me? And I had never gone over to someone's house before meeting them, so I thought, yeah, that'd be funny. I'm down. So after school, we meet up at Lois's house and enter this nice, massive home. After we came through the door and met him, he mentioned that tonight was going to be an epic, no parents are home, we can do anything we want type of deal. So we popped off and he led us into his bedroom. As soon as we entered his room, it reeks and there's garbage everywhere. Bro's room was completely different from the rest of the house. He had clothes all over the ground and probably like food crumbs in his bed sheets. But the most bizarre thing he had was an open bag of coffee beans lying on the ground under his desk. I asked him, bro, why do you have an entire whole thing of coffee beans in your bedroom? And he explained to me how when his parents make him go to bed at night, he likes to secretly stay up and game. But when he gets too tired, he swallows the beans whole with some water because he doesn't know how to use a coffee machine. And that was the first red flag that we were in the presence of an actual sociopath. And then he wasted no time to instantly pull out the entire dab rig. So you guys ever smoked dabs? And to be honest, neither of us really even knew what dabs were at this point, but we didn't say all that. We were just like, nah. And then this kid proceeded to pull out one of those wax weed pens and a syringe. He opened up the pen, extracting out the wax with the syringe and squirting it into the dab machine. And I feel like there's no way this can be good for you. You're definitely not supposed to use pen wax for dabs. I'm sure there's some chemicals in there that would make you grow a third arm and immediately see demons all around you. But this kid just goes straight for it. He was clearly a pro at this. And then he hands it over to the two of us like it's just implied that this is normal and we'd smoke this dude's mulch weed. Either way, we did do it because we succumbed to the peer pressure that accompanied that silence. But the thing about dabs is that they hit extremely hard. So as we smoked this, me and Roman ended up getting way higher than we anticipated, way faster than we had ever been at this point. Without even a word spoken, as if this was just an average day for Lois, he started started queuing up League of Legends on his laptop. That was the second red flag that we got from this kid. League of Legends has like 40-minute long games, and I wasn't about to watch this kid that I don't even know play a game I hardly know for 40 minutes while high off my first dab hit. But then he has the audacity to ask the two of us to get him a glass of water since he was getting into a game. And to this day, I literally cannot wrap my head around the situation that we had gotten ourselves into. We go to this random kid's house we don't even know, smoke his suspicious weed, and then he ignores us. And the fact that he's so casual about the whole situation makes me think that he's done this to other victims, and every time his parents go out, he just picks a new kid from school to do his biddings. So me and Roman go down to this dude's really nice kitchen and start eating all of his food while plotting and preying on his downfall. On one hand, we had a really cool house to stay in, and we could just eat all of their expensive snacks with no real repercussions. On the other, we'd have to spend the night with this strange elf person that kind of seems like he's using us. In the end, we decided to troop it out for the night because, to be honest, if we were to leave, we probably couldn't find our way home in the current state we were in. We brought up this dude's little Wawa drinky in the sippy cup and tried to make some kind of conversation with him just to see if he was going to do anything else but play League. But the way he was glued to this game, we kind of realized that this was all he was going to do. So we just walked out of the room and started exploring and pillaging all around this dude's massive house. I mean, it's not very often that you get to go through a stranger's house with no supervision and off a dab hit. And let me tell you, this exploration felt otherworldly because of it. The house could have felt way bigger than it was because we were high, but going through the hallways, the rooms just felt endless. The amount of bedrooms were ungodly in this house, and it took all of me and Roman's collective willpower to not steal their belongings. It was like getting into the loot vault in Fortnite and resisting the urge to take a golden scar. We eventually found what seemed like a family computer room, so we decided to set up camp there. We migrated back to the kitchen to get our yummy snacks and came back with a massive load of epic foods. We kind of just played random games on this dude's computer for a few hours, and the whole time this kid did not come looking for us. We set an hourly alarm to routinely check on the kid just to see what was going on with him, but he was literally just playing League all night. Multiple hours passed of this, and it got to the point where we entered ungodly hours of the night and we just wanted to go to bed. But this dude was completely unwavering in the face of the tiredness. He was gaming all night. This went on for so long, we just started to theorize this kid forgot we were in his house. But we didn't want to go to bed because it felt weird to just sleep in a stranger's bed. So we conducted a plan to sneak out of the dude's house undetected. We called our friend Adam to pick us up a few blocks down from the house, and on our way out, we stole a bag of Cool Ranch Doritos and tactically shut the front door behind us very sneakily and quietly. We got out of the house, and the next day at school, the kid didn't even mention anything or talk to us, and it was almost like he didn't even know the whole thing happened. Ever since then, I haven't smoked dabs because it was a weird experience, but anyways, listen, smoking can be fun and all, but anyone who's done it consistently knows that it can get stale. If you think about it, it probably makes sense scientifically. After you feel the same stimulus, you'll eventually grow jaded to it. But people who don't smoke almost always take the high experience in entirely new ways. So I decided to get a group of friends together that have never smoked to test this hypothesis. I don't have a lot of friends though, so it was only 2 people, so please don't comment on that. But my lucky individuals were the legend Cameron and my friend Jaime. Jaime showed up to my house first, and completely unannounced to me, he came in full Joker face paint. When I saw this, I got the feeling that this night was gonna be really funny or really scary for Cameron. I didn't know how he'd take this once he saw it high. But eventually, young Cameron pulled up, and I gave the 2 of them edibles because they didn't want to hurt their little lungs. So while we're waiting for these to hit, I really start hyping the whole thing up to these guys. Alright guys, listen, this is gonna actually change your lives. This is gonna be the best experience that you've ever had. And Jaime was like, I'm the Joker. And not even 10 minutes after consumption, Cameron swore he could feel it already. That was cap though. It was all placebo at this point, but he believed it with his whole heart. It didn't help that Jaime started gaslighting him like, yeah, you definitely feel it, man. I think I'm actually starting to feel it too. Holy fuck, I'm so fucking high. So Cameron lays on the bed thinking that he's already high, while Jaime just starts getting into my PC. There was very little time before Jaime just opened Steam Steam and bought Honey Pop with my credit card. Trust me, I didn't own this game beforehand. I got a little pissed because bro really thought he was the Joker and intruded into my things, but the game didn't cost that much, so I let it slide. The only thing I hoped for is that once this gummy hit Jaime, this game didn't make him go off and do something the real Joker would never even think of doing. After 30 minutes, these gummies actually started to hit Cameron, and he explained it was like it felt like he was driving a car. Bro was laying on his back with his arms up in the air like, oh my god guys, I'm going so fast, I can't slow down. And as soon as he stood up from the bed, Jaime charged him holding a yoga ball, screaming, holy fuck, there's a car coming, and launching Cameron back into the bed. Bro would not let Cameron get off the bed. Every time he tried to get up, he just got launched back to where he started. I was watching him get bullied before my very eyes, but I decided not to intervene. So after Cameron got launched a few more times, he started explaining how the impact of every crash was turning his insides into mush. He used the analogy that he felt like an orange that still had the peel intact, but the fruity inside part was smashed. This is when I decided to actually make an intervention, and I stole the yoga ball from Jaime. He was getting a little too in character with that Joker face paint. Jaime started throwing a little hissy fit and crying, so he walked away and started playing Honey Pop again. So I took the opportunity to really interview Cameron. So Big Dog, explain to me how you're feeling, Big Dog. And bro started smacking his lips together super loud. This was some audible lip smacking until he explained, my mouth tastes really good. Like, I feel like I don't have to eat anymore for the rest of my life because my mouth tastes so good. I'm like, damn, that's crazy, Big Dog. And upon further inspection, the reason that he felt this was because all the impact from that yoga ball made him bite his tongue and he was slightly bleeding. I didn't want to bring attention to all that, so my plan as the professional in this situation was to give him yummy food and hopefully he wouldn't notice the blood in his mouth. So I'm like, are any of my little boys hungry? And immediately those two go feral. Those first time munchies hit hard. So I pull up the classic McDonald's Postmates and Jaime takes my phone like, let me pick what I want. I'm the Joker, baby. Chicken nugget. I want chicken nugget. I'm on it. Let's get some of these chicken nuggets. So Jaime starts spamming the chicken nugget button and orders 50 chicken nuggets to my damn house. As an empathetic individual, I knew the long wait for the Postmates to arrive would be harrowing and brutal for these two. I decided I needed a distraction so they wouldn't complain about it taking too long, mainly Jaime. So I pulled out the iPhone projector and started playing Five Nights at Freddy's game theory lore videos because I know Jaime loves those. After not even getting a few minutes into the video, I came to the realization this was actually a terrible mistake because it started to make Jaime genuinely tweet. Five Nights at Freddy's 4 is the worst thing to ever happen to the series. What is Blood yapping about?
I don't know, man. I'm really hungry.
It totally has all the pieces for a dream theory to be true, but no. Is this like an issue? Like, should we stop him? I don't know if this is bad for his health. Why is the Chica toy missing its beak? I don't know, what does any of that mean? And what the fuck is Juniors? Why don't people realize FNAF 3 takes place in 2015? 30 years refers to 30 years since the original murders in 1985, not 30 years since the first game. That makes no sense. Luckily, the Postmates notification cut him off and it was chicken nugget time. Let's go. So we ran downstairs, got the food, ran upstairs, but as me and Cameron got to the bedroom, we decided we needed water with the nuggets so that we didn't choke to death. Before we went back downstairs though, I decided to snap a little picture of the scene in front of me because seeing Jaime and Joker face paint playing Honey Pop with 50 chicken McNuggets was something I didn't want to forget. But unknown to us, this would quickly become a top 10 moments caught before disaster image. So we go downstairs, fill up the water in the slow refrigerator faucet and head on up. And in that short amount of time, Jaime had eaten every single one of the 50 chicken nuggets. What the fuck happened to the nuggets, dude? Oh my god, no, why? And he just stared and laughed. The worst part is he didn't even eat these nuggets because he was hungry. He ate them because he thought it would be funny if we came back and they were all gone. And considering that he ate 50 nuggets in the period of a few minutes, it didn't take long for Jaime to run to the bathroom throwing up. And honestly, he deserved it at this point. Bro has been acting a fool for hours. He deserves to
feel some of the pain he inflicts on others for a change. Immediately after he finished at the toilet, he got right back to playing more Honey Pop as if nothing happened. He had a serious grind to commit to still. Cameron, on the other hand, wasn't feeling all that great after the nugget disaster. Bro was crying his eyes out and bleeding from the mouth like, I'm so hungry, bro. Is there any more food left, bro? Yeah, dude, there is. I just need to go get it from the kitchen. So I gave Cameron the iPad with Cocoa Melon while I went to order more McDonald's. Cameron immediately became demobilized and fell into the Cocoa Melon trance. But unbeknownst to him, I was about to pull a little debauchery on him because I wasn't about to pay for another McDonald's order. I went downstairs into my kitchen trying to find some good mulch for the boys to eat. I came back with a big bag of Doritos and told the lads that I got the new McDonald's Doritos, my boys. They taste so good. They're way better than the standard ones. And that was enough for him to immediately forget about what Jaime did. I tried to go up to Jaime and ask, so bro, like, how does it feel for you right now? And the only response he would say is, fuck man, I'm so fucking high, man, holy fuck. To then immediately lock back in and play more Honey Pop. I don't know why he was so locked into this game, dude. Like, he either truly wanted to play this goofy video game all night, or he was just so committed to playing a character that he wouldn't break it for a second. The only eventful moment beyond this was when Cameron dropped the iPad on his face. It seemed that at this point, the night had brought itself to a stalemate. Going back to my hypothesis, the gummies happened to turn Jaime into more of an evil person than he usually is, and it turned Cameron into a toddler. To be honest, I don't think they took it very differently as non-smokers, but also maybe I chose the worst sample group imaginable, I don't know. But anyways, that's the video. Subscribe. Bye!
I hate to say it, but at this point, Gen Z is a bunch of old heads. Pretty soon here, we're gonna be sleeping in rocking chairs on some 65 plus activity. I'm gonna be recording scripts with my dentures falling out. We might even start complaining at Whole Foods. But while it's pretty scary to turn into a certified geezer, when you consider what Gen Alpha's become, I think there's fatter fish to fry here. Every passing day feels like new information drops on Gen Alpha's disintegrating mind. I don't know about you, but if I was born and raised on YouTube Shorts, my brain would be Dusty Depot, my face would be Greasy Grove, and I'd smell like Moisty Meyer. Gen Alpha's daily activity currently involves maxing out their parents' credit cards on Roblox and then addressing them by their first name. If I pulled something like that at the ripe age of 8, I'd have been subjugated to unspeakable tortures. Let's say I were to make a video about the types of kids in Gen Alpha. We'd have the skibbity soldier, the iPad addict, the illiterate individual, and the cooked Christopher. To put it in perspective, when I was a kid, I ran off Capri Suns and Uncle Grandpa. Did I turn out well? No. But with Gen Alpha being comprised of Cocoa Melon AI YouTube Kids content and Guava Ice Elf bars, I can't imagine it's an upgrade. You see, pregnant women are like blenders. You put food into them for 9 months until they output a final result. However, the nutrition options for Gen Alpha babies are not looking good. Eat 1 Kaniak combo and that's another Aiden Ross viewer for the world. Eat 2 combos and that's a lifelong Neon sub. And personally, if I walked in on my son watching a kick streamer, I'd abandon him in the Sahara Desert. Because the content Gen Alpha is consuming has got to be the most brain-numbing, ice-dwelling slop I've ever seen. Let's take out the big one first, Skibbity Toilet. This dominates Gen Alpha. People are calling it Gen Alpha's first meme. So you're probably expecting me to dog on Skibbity Toilet, right? Well, actually, I like Skibbity Toilet. I watched the whole series and I acquired a fine taste for its intricate lore and world building. Certifiably, I fuck with the toilets heavy. I'm talking about the content where the blue guy gets fat as fuck and drowns to death. Putting your kids on TikTok with the iPad mini and subjecting them to 10 hours of TikTok per day has gotta be a low-level lobotomy. Gen Alpha babies have been cooked in the monkey baby bonbon and lanky box oven for their whole life. And now that they're older, the repercussions are starting to show themselves. Because these kids can't read. Gen Alpha kids cannot read words. They look at books and see Minecraft rune enchantments in the letters. This is what happens when people who play Valorant start to have kids. The amount of reports from teachers saying that they can't get their students to read or listen is crazy. I can't blame those kids though. The Skibbity syndrome does hit pretty hard. hard. But as a professional, I have a solution for the problem. Classrooms should have all students wear Apple Vision Pros and augment Minecraft parkour on the whiteboard to help them focus. That'd be sick. And it'd double to help with the kids' abhorrent iPad addiction. Gen Alpha loves their iPads. It turns out that when you give kids the iPad, they want to keep the iPad. So now that those iPad kids are inevitably getting dropped off at daycare, iPad-less with no money and some $8 shoes, they've started to snap. And I don't imagine you want to be caught as the kid with the iPad at Gen Alpha daycare. These kids will be eyeing you down like you pulled up to O Block with $10,000 in an open briefcase while wearing a cartoonish propeller hat. The only thing that helped them is some clothes from TakeYourTime.store. Sorry, that wasn't a very clever plug. But also, Gen Alpha's clearly been dealt a bad hand. They're starting off like an Elden Ring strength build with no intelligence or strength. But once you start adding artificial intelligence into the mix, you start to realize these kids are done for. Between me and you, I was a terminal cheater in school. I had the Quizlet Chegg Mathway subscription combo. I wasn't doing squat back in school. But at least I had to think for myself when it came to cheating. AI just does everything for you. Implant these kids with an Elon Musk Neuralink and they'll become the Quizlet subscription. There's not going to be a single thought required for Gen Alpha to make. But long term, I can't lie, I'm morbidly curious how these kids will turn out. Imagine once Gen Alpha is old enough to be in high school and have jobs. This generation's gonna be like a human experiment to observe. If we're being honest with ourselves, I can't even hold a regular job at McDonald's. It's too hard for me. I can't imagine the TikTok-pilled AI kids holding these jobs either. It's really about to be a dystopia. I think the only occupation Gen Alpha has over us is working the front lines in the military. All that skibbity toilet consumption probably has them primed for international warfare. But I've been dogging Gen Alpha for a while now. But something I'm truly afraid of is that I'm just like them. I mean, I do like Skibbity Toilet, but when you look at the exhibit of content we used to watch at Gen Alpha's current age, things don't look good for us. Back in the day, these MLG videos used to go hard, but looking back, I'd imagine most adults would assume I'm doomed for liking those. MLG videos are so bad nowadays, but I couldn't see it at the time. If you ever watched those Shrek compilation videos, those are pretty much the same as Skibbity Toilet too. But even more brain rot is YouTube poop. I got this video on Instagram Reels a couple days ago with SpongeBob repeatedly throwing the patty into a fan and it shits all over Squid. This still made me laugh to this day, which made me feel like Gen Alpha is pretty similar to me. But I've also got one first-hand experience in my life that makes me think that Gen Alpha could truly be a different breed than us. What if I were to tell you recently I had a first-person run-in with a real-life Gen Alpha child? I was at the park with my boys playing the classic basketball game Around the World. Why weren't we just playing basketball? Well, unfortunately, we're all white boys. White boys do it different in certain methods, and basketball is not one of them. We're shooting missed hoops for about 30 minutes until this mom walks over to us like, "My son Axel really wants to play with you boys." And immediately, I knew the boy Roderick was trying to get some good boy points with the mom, so he's like, "Of course we can play with your son." And just like that, we had a group of grown-ass adult dudes playing basketball with a 7-year-old. This situation was a little awkward because none of us wanted to use that sailor talk around the kid, and the kid himself just wasn't saying anything at all. So I try and strike up a conversation with the kid like, "So you ever watch YouTube, lil bro?" Yeah. Damn, alright, so like, what do you like to watch? I'm trying to bait out the Skibbity Toilet answer because I want to see if it's true that these kids are all addicted to it. But Axel hits me with the, "I like secret room videos." I don't know what a secret room video is, but we all hit him with the, "Oh yeah, I love secret rooms." "So you like Skibbity Toilet?" I cut right to the chase, but as it turned out, he was like, "I love Skibbity Toilet!" to then immediately run away from us, scour through a backpack, and come back with his iPad. He pulls the thing out and starts pulling up YouTube like, "You guys want to watch it?" As if he wasn't already going through the motions of pulling it up. We all look at each other like, the fuck is this kid doing? But we allow the kid to show us Skibbity Toilet. He just sits on the ground, starts scrolling Skibbity Toilet shorts, and sings along to the videos while making our entire group stand around him and watch. I don't know why he started showing this to us, but it made us have to completely stop the game. This would normally make me a little bit angry, but I can't lie. Watching this kid was a spectacle. I was also on Roderick's side with winning mom points, so I was willing to sacrifice my fun for the greater good here. And as I stood there looking over a 7-year-old child sing Skibbity Toilet to me, all I could think is how I'm growing into an old man, and damn, these kids are cooked. Anyways, go to TakeYourTime.store and buy something. Moon rocks, aka THC Megazords, is allegedly the most dangerous and powerful devil's lettuce crafting ingredient humans can possibly create with our current technology. Moon rocks are the frontier of all weed advancements, in that if smoked will change the way you view weed for the rest of your life. At least that's how some people were hyping these things up to me before I tried them. So when I first heard about this, naturally the first thing I thought was, the fuck is a moon rock? And you'd think I would have found out after having smoked them, and I'm leading into an explanation, but to be honest, I still don't know. I mean, it's a little nugget, it looks like a rock, and it's really strong. That's all I know. Anyways, here's the story of the first time I smoked a moon rock. I was with my boys as per usual when the idea of moon rocks came up. None of us had actually ever done them before, so it would be all of our first times. But since it was our first times, we didn't have any. But for the most part, we're all big kids now, so a few of us drove down to the dispensary to pick some up. We walk in, ask the employees for moon rocks, and they didn't even know what we were talking about. How do you work at a dispensary and not know what the weed is? We left empty-handed and decided to take some Google searches to find out how to get these. After Google searching, can you get moon rocks at dispensary? We found out that they're actually extremely rare. Not just that, but they're actually illegal. Oh wait, that's talking about the shits from space. Never mind. We loaded up weed maps and found a dispensary that has them. Drove over there, and yeah. We get home, time to get high, baby. Let's go. The price for these things were really steep. It was like $80 a pop, but also the price only added to the group's collective curiosity. So me, Roman, Roderick, and Adam all gathered around this magic rock, marveling at its greatness. Damn, bro, it's beautiful. You really think this tiny rock can really be all that? I don't know, bro. I hear it's illegal. You can't have rocks from space like that, so it's got to be strong. Roderick and Adam were already high going into this, so please pray for their souls. Cameron was also there, but as per usual, he didn't smoke, although he played the most important role in all of this, and that was giving me the information of what happened this night, because if not for him, I would have not remembered anything that happened to me to make this video. So we loaded up the thing, smoked the moon rocks, and almost instantly, you can feel that these things are strong. Off rip, each of us were feeling it quite adequately and splendiferously so. We did the usual goofing around and whatnot as you do when you're high. But all in all, the group was a little disappointed at this point. Yeah, we had a good high, but it wasn't quite the next level experience we were wanting. Considering the hype, we had expectations that this would change our lives and provide lifelong financial freedom or something like that. But little did we know, moon rocks actually have a secret ability that doesn't activate until 15 minutes after being smoked. The high of the moon rocks just kept getting higher and higher for us. After some time, we'd all think, damn, all right, this is actually getting somewhere. And then it would just keep going and going and going. The moon rocks had no plateau. And I guess that's the appeal of them. That's probably why they're called moon rocks, yeah? But anyways, after letting the moon rocks cook, we finally got it. Roderick and Adam being high beforehand definitely made them more zooted than anyone else, because Roderick became completely non-verbal and just lied on the floor, being completely still, while Adam was feeling the texture of the walls going, yo, it feels so real, it feels so good. These two were like the hollows from Dark Souls, dead spirits roaming shallow levels of the astral world, relentless and tormented, clinging on to the last remaining bits of their lives. Me and Roman, we were just really high. Now, what I'm about to say will probably be really controversial and could even possibly ruin my career. But in this heightened state, Roman did the impossible and convinced me that the Ohio meme was actually funny. You know how something that becomes unfunny gets life again by becoming ironic? Well, through that irony, I came full circle to the conclusion that Ohio is funny. He kept pointing and saying, Ohio weed. And I hated it at first. I thought it sucked. I did not think it was a funny joke at all. But by the time he got to his 20th Ohio weed, he eventually broke me. And then he stood over my body as I fell on the ground and said, I control you now, you're mine. Then proceeded to point at things and do the Ohio meme. In hindsight, I kinda don't think he's remotely funny to me at all, but there's something impressive about the fact that he could bring a day's worth of longevity back to this joke. As for me, I felt like my body was made of the sticky part of Velcro and everything else was whatever you call the other end of Velcro. I jumped on this bed and got completely stuck to it and couldn't get off. But I had a TV and an Xbox at my disposal, and from there, those two simple items brought me something I could only compare to an enlightening and spiritual experience. I queued up some classic Fortnite, went to the creative maps, and attempted to beat Fortnite only up. This collectively brought everyone together to watch me fall off of the first 3 boxes over and over. But every time I would get one more jump on my run, it was unreal. Everyone would pop off. The way they reacted to my gameplay gave me an evil little idea to do some trolling. Naturally, the group conglomerate gets munchies and all charge towards the kitchen, except for me and Cameron. I had to use all of my willpower to not follow them because I had hella munchies as well. But I turned to Cameron and whispered, "Bro, open YouTube for me. I want to see somebody beat this." So we brought up a video as the boys came back, and as they saw these beautiful and excellent jumps being performed before their very eyes, the boys couldn't help but weep. They watched in awe as they thought I was truly beating this whole thing, and I gained loads of respect. You can imagine that next, we all just started watching YouTube and go zombie mode. So all in all, moon rocks are good and really strong and make you go hollow. So if that's what you really want, I recommend. Anyways, that's the video. Subscribe. Bye. When I was a kid, I really thought that quicksand in the Bermuda Triangle would cause a lot more problems in my day-to-day life. But that's just how it goes in a stupid child's brain. The only thing that kids truly understand is that hamburgers and cheeseburgers go well with fries. So I ended up adopting some pretty brain-dead fears. And with brain-dead fears, we can conclude brain-dead solutions follow. I thought it was gonna be any day until a criminal broke into my home and held my entire family at gunpoint. But this was a usual for me, and I had a game plan prepared in case this very situation happened. I knew eventually the criminal would come looking for me in my bedroom, and so before he did, I would open my door to get perched up on top of the door, hiding in the corner. As the criminal starts to enter my room, I would jump onto his head, put my hands inside of his mouth, and scratch the roof of his mouth as hard as possible. This was the most effective method of inflicting pain I could think of. Unbeknownst to my stupid ass self is the counterattack of the criminal simply biting my fingers and shooting me dead. But that's just an example of how my brain used to think. Now imagine putting that same kid onto the internet with no external moderation. The day's inevitable. He gets traumatized when stumbling across Teletubbies get owned by Darth Tubby. This video is so funny now. The way that they scream and weep makes me laugh. But back in the day, I was genuinely disturbed by seeing the innards of a Teletubby. I thought Darth Tubby was gonna come for me, and if you look closely, Darth Tubby does not have a mouth, so I can't do my signature attack on him. Despite my trauma, 9-year-old me had a twisted fascination towards scary internet things. So of course, I eventually found video game creepypasta stories. The only one I was really drawn toward was Ben Drowned. The story goes that there was a kid with a Legend of Zelda video game that died and now curses the game. I never cared about all that, but for some reason, I got addicted to it. I just thought the face was creepy and would imagine him spawning into my 5th grade science class. And we can't talk about creepypasta stories without mentioning the big dog Herobrine. I would always get an unsettling feeling when I was alone in a mine shaft as a kid, but that was pretty much it. If anything, I was the cause of other kids' Herobrine trauma. On Minecraft Xbox 360 edition, if you were the host of the world, you had the option to remove name tags from above your head and go invisible. So I would find kids on Black Ops 2 and be like, "Hey, you wanna play Minecraft with me?" Get them in a game and do the old stand behind them until they turn around, then go invisible with the Herobrine skin tactic. Maybe scaring other kids was my way of coping with how scary Ben Drown was to me. But by the time FNAF came out, I didn't touch that game at all. I already had thoughts of Freddy standing at my door frame watching me sleep, and I wasn't about to make that worse. But that's all stuff on the internet. I can simply avoid it by not going on my laptop, and then all my fears are gone into fairyland. Except for when I'm in my own living room watching Adventure Time and they show this. On my young life, I thought Cartoon Network was a safe place, but I remember this clip disturbing me. But the only other fear I adopted from cartoons was summer school. These shows made it out like summer school was 2 months of extreme slave labor. And as a 9-year-old 9-year-old, I didn't know how school worked or what my grades were. I could have been thrown into the summer school mines at any moment as far as I knew. But on some real guapo shit, going to Spirit Halloween was like entering hell. The big clown robots were so scary, and all the step here to activate buttons were like walking through landmines. One wrong step and I'll get flashbacks to the excavation explosives we used in the summer school mines. But by far the worst one was the giant spider that would jump at you. This spider was so fucked up that it pretty much ruined Halloween for me. One time someone had it hiding in their bush when I went up to trick or treat as a kid, and it jump scared me. And at that point, I don't even want the candy anymore. If you're gonna give me trauma as a trade-off, that's not an equivalent exchange. I would walk around the neighborhoods actively avoiding any house that looked like it had any amount of effort put into the decorations. It resulted in me only getting poo-poo candy like Whoppers, but at least I didn't have to face the spider. But nowadays, the only thing I fear is the IRS, so looking back, the spider doesn't really seem that bad. Back in high school, the struggle for just a smidgen of change would lead people down unspeakable paths. I'll admit, back in the day, the grind for a pretty penny got to me. I saw bad things and did bad things I'd never forget. Today, I'm here to share how I slung drugs out on the courtyard, created an empire, and how that empire was suddenly pulled from right under my feet. Like anything ever, this operation was conceived out of an idea that sprouted out from desperation. A desperation me and the big man Cole were facing. Financial insecurity in the face of college. We wanted a little more bread before we went off to uni, and almost like fate, we had an idea come to us from pure happenstance. It was a sleepover night with the two of us. 9 p.m. was approaching. We had to be up by 5 a.m. for gym time, and we weren't tired. We consulted the melatonin gummy jar about this issue, and we both ate like 4 of these gummies. We lay down in our separate beds, and once the effects started to hit, we realized the gym may not be happening. Bro, are you still awake? Yeah, bro, I feel high. Me too. Something that must be understood is that the chemistry between me and Cole creates one of the greatest minds for business. We had realized, dude, we don't need to buy edibles to get high. We just need melatonin. This then advanced to, if we don't need to risk buying illegal drugs, then there's no risk in selling these either. And then we have an entire school of customers that want weed but can't safely acquire it. And finally, we need to sell these to the freshmen. If we could trick one high school freshman into believing these melatonin gummies were edibles, he'd tell his friends, the business would grow naturally, so would our pockets, and we would have a solid amount of money when starting college. When the next day of school came around, we had a plan. All that was needed was a freshman to take the bait. During lunch, we both sit at a table beside a group of freshman kids, positioning ourselves back to back with another table. We start talking. Man, I cannot believe we got all of those edibles. I know, right? They hit so hard, bro. They felt so good. Yeah, that was like a life-changing experience. I think everyone has to experience this stuff. We were clearly talking loud enough for this table to hear us, but no one was biting. We had to take a more active approach. I leaned back and asked, hey man, have you ever done edibles before? No, why? I got a ton of edibles the other day and I'm looking to sell. You want to buy? Let me think about it. This kid talks with his table for the rest of lunch until the bell rings. As everyone's walking away, we stop him and ask, so you interested, little bro? Kind of, but I don't have any money on me. This was an inevitability we foresaw. So I hand him 2 melatonins. How about these ones are on the house? You can do it with one of your friends. Let me know how it goes. And just like that, we got the ball rolling on what would eventually secure us future financial stability. After about a week, this kid comes back to us saying how awesome it was, and he and his friend got so high they passed out. He wanted more, and this time he brought money, so we sold them to him $15 a pop. As the school year went on, word spread. Eventually, we had a whole section of the freshman year class hitting us up on the daily for these melatonin.
melatonins. But while our pockets grew, our hearts would shrink. The two of us had a real friendship that grew with the original kid, and he had no idea. That bond was built on a foundation of lies and deceit. We had to really ponder the ethical justifications of our scam. Was lying to all of these people justified if we were providing them with fulfilling experiences? Was ignorance truly bliss, and did they deserve to know the truth? It felt wrong to leave for college, abandoning all these freshmen behind in a haze of lies. They deserved to know, so me and Cole had the plan to tell them on the last day of school, and we'd use the money they gave us to buy real edibles for them and make up for everything we did. It was a solid plan that would lift the baggage off of our souls so as to avoid carrying this burden throughout our lives. But things did not go as planned. Spring break hit and so did COVID. We never got to see those kids again, and they still don't have a clue what happened to them. All we can say for sure is they were happy. The smiles on their faces as we deceived them were always a bittersweet sight. And because of a global pandemic, despite the burden we bear, those smiles will never die. Okay, that's the story. Subscribe. Bye.